let's talk about how to take care of your tuba and some things that you might need to do. So first thing is, after you've played for a little while, when we take our hot, moist air and blow it into our metal tuba, what happens is the moisture in our air condenses and it forms water droplets. And sometimes we get water formed, trapped on the inside of our tuba. And sometimes when you play, you might hear like a pop, 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 pop sound when you're playing. And that's just, there's water trapped in your tuba. And we got to let it out. So how do we do that? And this is something you always want to do right before you put it in its case. We don't want to put your tuba in the case full of water. It's not good on it. So down at the very bottom, it might be kind of hard for us to see. Right here, there's a little key that I can push that opens up a hole underneath. This particular tuba has two of them. There's another one up here. There's another one back here that's hard to show. Anyway, it's got two of them. And what you want to do is just hold the tuba out in front of you. You want to spread your legs apart so that when the water comes out, it doesn't get all over you. And then you just push down the key, and the water should come out. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll push the key down and blow some air through it to kind of help push the water out, right? Now, sometimes you'll see that we've got these big long tubes here. And for example, this one is coming out of this first valve right here, right? And it comes down, and there is no water key down here, all right? So sometimes you get water stuck down in here, or maybe in this one, and this has got a ring here for a reason. So what we want to do is sometimes we want to pull these slides out, and they do come out and empty the water out. Now, when you pull them out, you always want to make sure that you're holding down the valves, because if you pull on this without pushing this down, what you're doing is you're creating a vacuum on the inside of that, and it's really not good on your valves to do that. So whenever you're moving these slides in or out, you want to push your valves down so that the air can move freely. All right. So it does come out, and then sometimes you might have water on it. You might just let that out. It is helpful to have a towel in your case to lay down on the floor to absorb all this moisture that comes out. It's kind of rude and impolite to just drop it on the floor anywhere you go. Or if you have a wastebasket, that works too. But I know a lot of tuba players that put a towel in their case and they just lay it on the floor in front of them, and that's what collects all the moisture. So you have this, and when you put it back in, make sure to push the valve back in and very, very gently slide it in. If you have to force it, there's something wrong, all right? You just have to get it lined up perfectly and very gently slide it in. Now, this is something you will not have to do very often, and you may not have to do it for a month after you start playing. Now, the middle one does come out as well, all right? And this one, the third one comes out. It's a lot harder to get out, and it's a lot harder to put back in, so I'd encourage you not to bring this out all the way because it's a lot harder to get in. All right, so the slides are there. You really don't want to mess with them too much unless you absolutely have to, because you can kind of damage things. Most of the water should come out of the water key, right? And just empty the water key whenever you put it back in the case. Now, another thing that we need to do to make sure that everything is running is we have pistons right here that move up and down. So you can see the outside part, but there's also an inside part. This does come all the way out. You don't really need to take it all the way out, though. All right. So, and this is kind of the same. This is kind of the same setup as your car. If you've ever heard your parents talk about taking your car in for an oil change, they have to change the oil in the car so the metal parts that are moving against other metal parts can move freely up and down. And we need to do the same thing. So we use oil. This is called blue juice, and it works really well. It also has the added benefit of cleaning out the inside of your tuba when you use it. So if this is a great thing to have. If you got the West Music oil, it's okay. This is better. So what we need to do, we need to do this about maybe once a week, more like once every 2 weeks. You definitely do not need to do it every single day. Is to oil your valves so that they move nice and freely. And if you're finding that the valves are getting stuck, like I just pushed that down and it got stuck, it's probably time to oil. All right, so sometimes they get stuck And when that is happening, that means it's time to oil it. So what I need to do is first I unscrew. Well, I unscrew the part down here. All right, I unscrew it, and then I pull it out. And it's really important that we only do this one valve at a time, because the valves are not interchangeable. This one has to go in this spot. This one has to go in this spot. So I'd encourage you to only do one at a time, and that way you won't get it mixed up. All right. All right. So what I like to do is pull it out just a little bit. It's easier if you don't pull it all the way out, because then there's less things to manage. I'm going to take this, and I'm only going to put maybe 2 or 3 drops on. It doesn't take very much. I might put a drop on the top. I might put a drop on the bottom. Just a couple drops. It doesn't take very much. And I'm putting it on the outside. I'm not putting it on the inside of the holes, because that's not going to do us any good. And putting it on the outside of it and letting it drip down. Then I'm going to take it and I'm just going to push it in a little bit and swish it around to swish all that oil around. All right. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look for a little white notch. There's this plastic piece on top, and it's got a little white notch. And that kind of juts out a little bit. And I'm going to take that little white notch, and you're going to find that there's a little notch in the middle that's probably facing you, and you want to line those up so that white notch fits in the groove. It's really hard to see on a video, but you'll be able to see it when you pull it out. You want to get that lined up. So I'm going to hold the screw up, get it lined up, and very, very gently push it down in there, right? Once it's lined up, and I can push it up and down, then I'm going to kind of hold the valve down with one finger, or I might actually use my other hand to hold it down, just so it stays in place. And then I'm going to screw this back in. All right? And you don't want to make it tight at all, because it'll probably get stuck. So just you want to get it to the point where it's just snug, and no tighter than that. And then you can do the other two. All right? And like I said, it's something that you probably need to do once a week, once every other week. And that's called oiling your valves. All right? Other than that, the only thing that you might need to do on an occasional basis to keep your tuba nice and clean is just cleaning out the mouthpiece. You may have gotten a white brush to clean out your mouthpiece, and sometimes just pipe cleaners work, or sometimes just put it in the sink. This is something you might need to do once a month or once every other month. Is just cleaning out the inside of your tuba, because when we play, we do to get the bacteria that's in our mouth that's going through the mouthpiece, and sometimes we want to clean that out. We do take the tubas in, the school district does, and gives them a full acid bath every summer. So that's something that you will not need to worry about. We'll take care of that for you. So that's some basic care of your tuba. Now we got to get it back in the case. So let me get set up. All right, so I've got my tuba next to my case. And I've just got it resting straight up and down. All right, I'm gonna open up my case. I'm gonna take my mouthpiece out first and put my mouthpiece where it needs to go. And there's a little slot in the case there. I'm gonna lift this up with both hands. And I'm gonna make sure that I'm holding on to the big parts down here and up here. I'm not holding on to the fragile parts like this. All right, then I'm just gonna very gently lay it down in the case. Usually you want to lay it down so that the lead pipe is facing up. All right, then you close the case, latch it up, and you're on your